So let's start with House Bill 5142 from Chairman Solomon. I do see he's available to testify via Zoom. This is an act relating to elections, Rhode Island campaign contributions, and expenditures reporting. It requires that all candidates for office file the same number of campaign finance reports, all due at the same times, whether or not they have contested primary elections. Chairman Solomon, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. As you said, this bill would require all candidates to file the same number of campaign finance reports, all due at the same times, whether or not they have contested primary elections. The reason why I introduced this bill is what I feel is to be a little bit of a loophole in either the regulatory process or the campaign finance reporting process that we have. So, for example, a person who currently has a campaign finance account open and has a primary, before the election, they have to file many reports, one including, so if you look at it this way, if you were to declare your candidacy sometime in June, you're still going to have to file a 28 days, you're going to have to file a second quarter report. You would have to file a 28 days before the primary, a 7 days before the primary, and then with the election, a 28 days before the election, and then a 7 days before the election, and then after the election, a 28 days after the election. However, if there's a new candidate who just recently filed their declaration of candidacy, even though it's before the second quarter would be finished, campaign finance doesn't typically request that second quarter report. And if that same individual does not have a primary, the first report that a person would file is 28 days before the general election. That's in October. So for government, for transparency purposes, there is no transparency the way that the law currently stands. So I think it would be important for all candidates to file numerous reports, and preferably on the same schedule, and provide more information to the Board of Elections, the Elections Division Campaign Finance. So thank you, and I'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Any questions for Chairman Solomon? Okay. That will conclude the hearing on House Bill 5142. There are no witnesses signed up.
I believe
We have somebody.
It's Teresa Tansey.
Representative Tansey, welcome.
Thank you. Chairman Solomon, is there a reason to just put in a request for them to begin filing that second quarter? Is there?
Well, what do you mean, just the second quarter? I mean, the problem is the way the Board of Elections Campaign Finance Division looks at it is that if a person has expended or received any money prior to June 30th, then they are supposed to file that second quarter report. But what you'll see is that a lot of newer candidates, for one reason or another, maybe they may have filed their declaration of candidacy, they may not have their campaign finance completely in order, maybe they've received a check or two, but they don't really put the check in until, say, July 1st, which would fall under the third quarter report. And, you know, a lot of people don't want to be political and make it a political issue as to file a complaint, but, you know, especially with a newer candidate. So, you know, I think it's important that it's just an open process for everyone, fair across the board, that everybody has to report.
Okay, it just seems to me, I know that it's kind of burdensome for those who don't have, who are established like ourselves. If what you're trying to get at is to allow that new candidate to be the one to have more transparency, it just seems like a burden on everyone else in the system to try to get at a very small selection of individuals that you're trying to get at. So as somebody who files her own reports, it is a burden oftentimes on candidates, especially people who are running for smaller offices.
Well, Representative Tansey, the candidates or the people who are currently in our office are already filing these reports. It's just that little bit of a loophole that, you declare, and then technically you don't start receiving or expending funds until July 1st. Then you don't file your first report until 28 days before the general election, which is in October. So there's a lot of time between, declaration and when the election actually occurs. There's a lot of campaign activity that just never gets reported until October 6th.
Yeah, no, I understand that for the new candidates. I was just wondering if there was a more direct way to attack that specific issue. Thank you.
Any further questions for Chairman Solomon? Okay, that will conclude testimony on House Bill 5142.